All right, guys. So I stumbled across this pretty depressing video, and the reason why it's depressing is because Savannah Hernandez is going to ask some young students about being a woman in the modern day, okay, and what being a woman is. And quite honestly, man, I'm losing hope in the younger generation. Right? These kids are truly brainwashed, and I think this video right here is a prime example of what I'm talking about. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and get into it because, again, this is very, very, very sad. So let's watch.
23, so we are here at UT Austin to ask the ladies what it means to be a woman in the modern day, and also if they would feel comfortable sharing their spaces with trans women. Let's go find out. What is it like being a woman in modern day America for you?
There definitely is some like setbacks and challenges, especially like I'm queer, and so I have some like just problems with that, like in like a religious standpoint.
There's still a
Okay, being queer, that ain't holding you back, okay? There's no rights that LGBTQ people don't have. There's no rights that women don't have. Being a woman, being LGBTQ, being a so-called person of color, none of that is holding you back, okay? None of that is holding you back.
A lot of struggles that women have to like go through just for the, I guess, the way that they were born, I guess, especially if you take into account like trans femme people and like stuff like that. So
You see what I'm saying? This is depressing, man. This is depressing. Okay? Trans femme people. What does that mean? Does that mean men, right? Biological males somehow, some way know what it's like to be a woman in regards to, I guess, the challenges that they are when it comes to being a woman? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I'm actually just working on a project right now. I'm an RTF major, and we actually just made a short film about women's experiences, like just existing in the world. It's called You Should Smile More, and we actually did a whole bit about like how it is to just like exist around like kind of just the kind of entitlement of men and how they make people feel uncomfortable and just like in everyday situations and how that affects women in like their day-to-day lives.
What are some of those things that men do that make women feel uncomfortable?
Well, for example, in the film, like the title of the film is You Should Smile More. Just these like kind of offhanded, sort of like backhanded compliments almost, where it's like it's inherently threatening and telling them like, you know, like you're only valuable because you're pretty, and like they kind of the tone that they use in sort of situations.
I actually identify as non-binary, but I have like still identify as a mostly feminine person.
You're gender fluid. Talk to us about, I guess, the modern day version of what being a woman is.
I don't know. I mean, I'm only realized some more gender stuff about myself recently, like in the past few months or so, because before then I identified as a man most of my life, so I'm still trying to figure things out.
So
Wait, so how did you know you identified as a man if you don't know what a woman is? Okay, so if you don't know what a woman is, you still trying to figure it out. How did you know that you was a man? Clearly, at some point, you knew that you're a biological male. I'm just saying none of this really makes sense to me, okay? Because in order to know that you're a man or a male, you have to know what it's like to be a man, and he does because clearly he's a male, okay? So that means you know that you're not a woman. You knew that you were not a woman at one point. Interesting.
what are your pronouns? Talk to us a little bit about your gender identity.
Pronouns, I guess right now I'm kind of vague about because I'm not out to like literally like everyone in existence, just kind of certain social spheres. But I guess like any at this point.
Any gender? So
Yeah.
like they, them, she, her,
Yeah, I'm
it,
fine with
he,
whatever.
him.
Yeah,
You go with anything?
yeah, I go with anything.
So gender and sexuality is something that has been brought to the forefront a lot for Women's History Month,
Definitely.
International Women's Day. Some women saying that trans women shouldn't be platformed because they're really biological men, especially for Women's History Month. What is your viewpoint on that in the modern day?
I think trans women are women because biological biological sex is different from gender. So however you choose to present yourself, you are a woman. If you don't even have to have like any sort of gender affirmation surgery.
I think if anyone wants to be a woman, they can. I think
just because a trans woman is a woman. And I do think we should platform that. They are women.
It's interesting with like biological men going into like becoming a biological woman, and people have an issue with that because at the end of the day they're a woman, you know, like you've become a woman, so now you are in that camp. So I could see why someone might have like issues like, oh, that's not a real woman, but I think that's kind of them not being able to accept the fact that that person has made that choice to become a woman.
Do you guys?
Yeah, so I don't know if Savannah's actually gonna ask this dude this question. I hope she does. My follow-up question would be, well, since trans women are real women, would you sleep with one? Right? Would you sleep with one? Right? I would love to know the answer to that question from this guy, since he claims he believes that.
Is you trans women and biological women the same?
Oh yeah, see, here we go.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. Yeah,
Yes, you know, it's like yes. It's like a yes
that's
and
a trick
no.
question,
Yes
but
and
it's like
no, right.
that's a great question
It really
for
is a good
conversation.
Well, I mean, I think like the fact that like it's not just it's trans women and biological women kind of already inherently is saying they're different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like if you know it's like do you view a woman as the same? Even if that question, the answer would be no, because all women are different. You know, like Rihanna and Beyonce different. Same.
Yeah, but they're still biological women, right? They're still actually women. Okay, you're claiming that trans women are actually women, but they're not biological women, which means they're not actually women. Actual woman is a biological woman.
Way, you know, like Caitlyn Jenner and like
Do you think
and
Beyonce
Savannah.
and Caitlyn Jenner are similar?
I
Like, would
think
you
they're
put them
similar.
on? Yeah, like.
Yeah, they're both women.
In the place of the arts, it's like there's really no room for judgment because
Yo.
like we do like
I had questions
animal
about
work,
this
like
guy.
we'll crawl on the ground like dogs or like squirrels, and then that like you know, being a squirrel you can like transition to like being like this like sort of crackhead where you have like this like tick, and it's like I know I'm getting there, but it's like. You know, you're laughing at that, but it's like we have no room to judge because then like some of the best actors out there doing like Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire. You know,
Would you say that a man
it's
transitioning to being a woman is the same as an actor pretending to be a squirrel?
see that's just a crazy ass question.
You said you were getting
Well,
there.
what I'm getting at is like not the embarrassment, the judgment on
Right.
other people of like, you know, this is just that's what I do. Now you might not necessarily do squirrel work, but I'll do it because that furthers like my life and my career and everything. And if you know transitioning furthers somebody else's life in the way that they want to, then like that's just what they got to do, you know.
Do you view biological women and trans women the same way?
Oh no. I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think they should be labeled the same, but I think people should acknowledge that trans women and cis women have different experiences.
I mean, I think if that's what
Again, the real question should be, if you want to know the real answer, right? The real no BS answer. Would you sleep with a trans woman? Well, first of all, are you straight? Right? First question. If the answer is yes, then the next question is, would you sleep with a trans woman? That's how you get rid of all the BS. That's how you know how they actually feel. Because if they wouldn't lay down with one, okay, then they don't really feel like it's a real woman. Okay, I'm keeping it 100. That's the real question that should be asked.
they identify as, then today is a day for them.
Do you think that we should be focused in more on transgender women's voices now in the modern day society and, you know, trying to uplift them more than, let's say, other groups of women in the space? What are your thoughts?
Yes, in a way, because they do go through more.
And it's nice to get validated
Yeah.
in your identity and stuff.
Trans women are, you know, oppressed and stuff. I think they deserve. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but see, the woke say that real women are oppressed too, right? So it's the oppression, it's the victimhood Olympics, right? And that's what bothers me the most about all this stuff. Okay, it's can you have as many infinity stones of victimhood as possible, right? How many infinity stones of victimhood / wokeness do you have? Whoever has the most, they get the loudest say, right? Even if they're in the small minority, they get the loudest say. Again, trans women can now speak for real women, right? Because they're more oppressed, right? So we're supposed to feel bad because they're more oppressed. Amazing.
Voice. They deserve to have the right to identify the way that they see themselves as.
I think trans women of color should be uplifted the most just because they have the most oppression facing them.
And talk to me too a little bit about that. What are some of those oppressive things that they're facing?
I don't know.
It could just be like small, everyday
Small things.
microaggressions, or even as far as someone going and assaulting them on the street.
And it's all intersectionality, so they deal with just more than one thing. They're a trans woman, they might be a person of color, they might be part of the LGBTQ plus community. A lot of things overlap, and it's hard to, a lot of things affect them. It's not just one thing.
I guess assigned female at birth person, you just generally have a lot more hardships just from like the way you were born. But I do think like trans femme people, it's kind of dangerous to be a trans femme person. It always has been.
That's a lie. Right? That's a lie. Again, another myth. Okay? The amount of transgender people killed last year were less than 50. Right? Less than 50 in the United States. Less than 50. These people just say stuff. Trans people are in danger, right? Their lives are in danger. No, they're not, right? Nobody is committing all these alleged acts of hate against trans people like these people claim, because first and foremost, the people that they claim that hate trans people so much are not around trans people, right? To commit any type of hate crimes against them. So again, whatever violence trans people are experiencing most likely has been done by somebody in their own circle, right? Somebody that they know, their friend, okay? Somebody that might be in their own community.
There's a lot of violence that trans femme people, trans women like specifically face.
I hate the way that the United States and law and policy are so focused on changing or just bothering the trans community.
Wait, the delusion is out of control here. She hates the way that laws are focused on bothering the trans community or changing. Like, no. They're actually trying to change stuff. We're not trying to change anything. We're trying to keep things the same, okay, as they've always been. They're trying to change stuff. Again, this person fundamentally has no clue what's going on. She has no idea what she's talking about.
And I feel like that should be, it should obviously be a part of law in terms of giving them the freedom that they want. But other than that, I feel like that should not be a subject to talk about unless you are a part of the community or it has something to do with you, because you don't truly know how it feels to be trans. Unless you're supporting, then I feel like it should not be talked about.
Yeah, I do. All I gotta do is say I'm a woman, right? Hey, I'm a woman. Now I know what it feels like to be trans, okay? Now I'm switching back to being a boy, right? A man, right? It's really that simple, according to you guys, right? I think, therefore I am. If I declare, therefore I am, I switch back. Therefore I know what it's like. I could comment on this all I want, right? I'm an expert in this field.
So I think one of the reasons why it is because, like, for women's sports, for example, right, we do have some people like Leah Thomas, who is a biological male, that went and swam with the women, obviously took first place. Leah Thomas, broader shoulders, was just bigger in general. So in terms of women's, sports, or even sometimes women's locker rooms, like young girls are being exposed to trans women who still have male genitalia. So these are kind of little kids that are seeing that. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. When it comes to the locker room, I feel like if these people if the trans community, if they feel like they are the opposite sex, like a female or a male, then they should be able to go into the locker room or whatnot because they truly feel like they are female. So 9 times out of 10, I can't speak for everyone, but they're not trying to mess with the opposite sex if they feel like they are that sex. Like if they're a female going into a female locker room, then they're not going to want to mess with the females because they now are a female.
Yeah, so obviously this person has not heard about all those prison cases that we're dealing with when you have trans women that have been put in these women's facilities, and then things happening because we're mixing the sexes, okay? Ah, man. Again, for educated people, alleged educated people, these are some of the most ignorant people in the country. To be quite honest, they have no idea on what is actually going on, right? They understand theories, right? They understand what they've been brainwashed with, what they've been woke-washed with in school, but they don't actually pay attention to the real news and what's going on. They don't know anything.
But
even if they still have a penis, though, like, do you think that, again, exposing a child to male genitalia just because that person feels female is a good thing for society?
Well, I feel like you're not going to expose your genitalia in a locker room. I know for me, you just get changed and stuff. So in terms of like exposing yourself in a locker room, I feel like that is not an issue. But if people are afraid that the trans person is going to mess with the female in the locker room, that's why I'm saying I feel like it's not an issue either, because if they identify as female, then they're not going to try to mess with these females.
Really, anyone can be dangerous.
But do you think little kids should be seeing this type of thing?
I mean, well, kids shouldn't be seeing genitalia in general. I think, I mean, if a woman like goes into a bathroom and is like showing off their like genitals or whatever, that's just like a sexual predator. Like, they just need to be in jail.
For example, in my gym, women will walk around and they'll get naked changing because, you know, we're all biologically the same there. So that's kind of the situation that some people are in. There are children there. But I guess, like I said, in the instance of it being a trans female, like, what are your thoughts on, I guess, children seeing that?
I mean, I don't know. I think it's... that is interesting thing to think about. I just think, like...
Stumped. Never thought about this before.
I don't know. It's... It is, like, kind of a weird situation. I do think for the safety of, like, a lot of trans people, there should be a lot more gender, like, neutral spaces.
Right. So more options would probably be the answer.
Yeah, I think so, because it really is, like, especially if you're thinking of, like, a trans woman, if they go into, like, the men's locker room, they're, like, a target for, like, harassment and violence, but if they go into a women's, like, locker room...
I don't know, man. When they pulled out them pants, I don't think they're a target anymore. I'm just saying.
A lot of women are uncomfortable, and that's just, like, the reality of it.
Yeah, that's bull.
Yeah, her woke bubble got burst with that question. Something she's never thought about before, because these people literally don't read the news. They don't know what's going on. All they know is what they're being indoctrinated with in college, and that's how you get this type of stuff, right? That's how you get this type of stuff. We should replace college with real world experience, right? Replace college with real world experience, and I think that we will have a lot less of these issues, a lot less uneducated woke people in this country. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.